You're listening to KOUG Radio. Listen live online at KOUGradio.org.
Hi. I just deleted like two. This is the third try. Okay. I don't know what is happening today, but I'm not feeling myself. This is not it. Okay. It's okay. Hi. Welcome back to Talk Now, Cry Later. I'm Payton Dobson, your gracious host. Today I wanted to do a short episode because I forgot to record this week, and it's Valentine's Day, and if you do celebrate, that's great. If you don't, that's great. I mean, you could go with every day is Valentine's Day, but if you don't do anything every day, then you're technically a loser, and you're not celebrating it, so every day, like you promised, and you're a hypocrite, so anyway, sorry, I hate those people. Anyways, but if you do take the time to think about the holiday and do implement it into your everyday life and not just for one day, welcome. And yeah, I just wanted to do a quick fun little thing, which is just so ridiculous, and I feel like I'm not qualified for this, but that's the beauty of life. You just do it anyway, even though you're not qualified. Anyways, so I am here to give you dating tips. Wish there was like some cute little background music. Dating tips with Payton. Let's go. Just for fun. So background. I am almost 23, and I've been on 1,000 dates. I shouldn't say that. 1,000 first dates. Yeah. Because I just was like disgusted by online dating and the dating pool, because it's gross and it's not the best because people abuse it, and meeting someone organically is really hard to do because we're all awkward, and I could throw that COVID was a part of that in there, which kind of made us all a little antisocial. Anyways, it's been rough. It's rough for kids in our 20s, you know. It's just there's a lot of options, of course, but that doesn't mean that they're great options, if that makes sense. Anyways, so let's go over some fun little tips for you to take if you are having trouble, like I was for the longest time in the dating life, in the dating scene, because it's insane, and I have many stories to tell, and I was considering doing like a cute little segment about talking about my worst dating stories, and I mean, some of them are scary, some of them are funny, but I don't know. If that's something you want to see, let me know. If that's something you don't care about, then tell me that too. But anyways, so tip number 1. Now, you could count this as being shady. You could, if you want, but I did it, and I still do it, and this is something that I do when I first meet people, and it's not nice. Okay, I mean, it is nice. I'm not hurting anybody, okay? Chill. This is just something that I did to get a feel of people, and if I wanted to pursue it or not. So, you know how people change, and people are very different for first impressions versus not. Or when people meet you, I feel like it depends on the circumstance you're in. It can depend on the atmosphere, depend on who you are, what you're doing, what your life is like. Everybody's different, of course, and people change. We change and evolve all the time. But I feel like when we're trying to impress somebody, we sometimes keep our cute little quirks and issues to ourselves because we don't want to come off as like a loser, because we're like, we want this person to like us, right? So, which that's just fair, you know? People are like, be yourself, but not too much, you know? Whatever, first date culture, whatever. So, but see, I was having trouble with this because I'd go on dates with guys, right? Just like dating apps, I'd be like, okay, going on a date this weekend. And they would be like, either too standoffish, not telling me much, or telling me things I just want to hear. And I was like, and I could just read through the lines. I don't know. And I was like, I don't believe you. And maybe that's just me not believing people. Maybe I have trust issues. You could chalk it up to that. But what I would do to get people to be more vulnerable with me, so I wouldn't have to like dig at their insecurities, because, you know, at the end of the day, everybody has insecurities. Like, it's not a big deal. I'm not saying I'm trying to find a perfect person. I'm like, I don't want you to be fake. Like, tell me who you are. I want to get to know somebody. I want to know you, not know how everything's great in your life and everything's perfect and I have absolutely no problems. Like, no, that's just stupid and that's not real. So I was like, I want to cut the crap, weed out the weirdos, and find a good person. So I would throw little tests. And what you do is you kind of just have to, when you're vulnerable with somebody, they usually in a state of almost like mimicking and just, well, maybe not mimicking, just them being, you know, feeling comfortable, they will show you their true colors, right? So yeah. So little things I would do is, if I would go on a first date, I would go, obviously it's just safe for the girlies out here, but go somewhere public, go somewhere where it's loud, go somewhere where there's a lot of people and they have to talk to somebody in customer service, because it will show you how they treat people, first of all. And if they get shoved, if it's too loud, if someone's being kind of obnoxious, it shows how they treat people under pressure and under situations. So there's tip number 1. Tip number 2, when asking them a question, be vulnerable, use vulnerable language. Not saying you have to tell all your trauma and secrets in the first date. No, actually, please don't do that, because that's kind of the opposite effect of what we're going here. When you talk to somebody, like, level with them. Like, oh my gosh, I do the same thing. How do you do it that way? I do it this way. Hey, like, how do you feel about that? Because I do this, but this always makes me feel this way. What do you do? You know, that type of thing. Very much, not too much, but a little vulnerable, because it gets people to loosen up and be more themselves, and then show you their true colors and see if you're a good match. I did this a lot, where I would take, well, no, I wouldn't, but like, I would meet guys in like very high pressure, loud, kind of crazy places or situations, and I'd be like, okay, let's see how they treat other people. And a lot of the times I was disappointed. And they were like, well, I'm just trying to focus on you. And I'm like, I know, but there's other people around us. Like, that's just how I could weed out the weirdos. That's the title of this episode. Editor, it's called Weed Out the Weirdos. Thank you. When people tell you things about them, things that are vulnerable, you believe them. Believe the patterns. I think that can cause you to save yourself from a lot of heartbreak down the line. And this sounds like I'm just making people sound awful. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just saying, protect yourself, because not everybody's a good person, unfortunately. And there are certain things that people can handle and can't. So figure that out on an early on stage, so you don't have to worry about it later. Another tip, dating apps, I rule that. I throw that in the same category as social media. It is different, absolutely. But it's also very similar, because people show the best sides of themselves on dating apps and social media, usually. Some people are very open and honest and vulnerable, and I really appreciate that. That's hard to do. I'm trying to do that more, and that's scary. It's scary to show who, you know, how I think of myself and how I truly am. Like, that's terrifying. So I try my best to do it on this podcast. And so I just beware, because I think growing up I had to really, really drill in my brain, like, social media is fake. It's fake. It's just the best sides of people. It's mostly the best sides of people. It's fake. And when you like see somebody in social media, or like you see someone on a dating app, you're talking to them for a long time, then you meet them in person, there are differences. There are clear differences. And if those differences don't bug you, maybe potential. But if they do, and you notice it's a big change to where you're like, this feels like somebody set me up, maybe rethink. And also, think about your own social media. Does it really highlight me as a person, or does it just highlight the best parts of myself? Because if you put on the most perfect photo, the most edited photo, Photoshop, whatever, just don't do that. But if you do, stop, because you're going to pull in the wrong crowd, because someone's going to be very disappointed when they see your perfect, beautiful, already great own self instead of that edited photo. Does that make sense? Or that perfect curated caption, that perfect, these facts about you. Oh, you're into yoga, but you're actually not. And you're like, I don't care about yoga at all, but you say you are. Someone's going to be very disappointed. Stop lying. Just stop lying. Okay. That's something that was really disappointing about dating apps, is I almost felt pressured to make myself sound more interesting. I didn't. Eventually I had to like, okay, let's be real here. But that was definitely a temptation. It was like, maybe I should just do that, or like, post myself in this way, even though that's not what I think I am. And also just dating apps, you just meet a lot of liars, because it's easy to lie on there. It's easy to lie on social media and be fake. So, be careful. Next, we're going to talk about heartbreak. Now, with heartbreak, I'm not going to get into it a whole lot because I don't want to, because it's a very vague and diverse topic, and everybody has different experiences, and that can get really cloudy and messy. And heartbreak does not have to be romantic heartbreak. It could be heartbreak of anything in life, anything bad that happens, or anything that you're not ready for. It's so, vast in that category, but we're just going to talk about, I feel like it's more of the minor yet most invested topic is like romantic heartbreak. Now, I had trouble with this, of course, as like a young teenager, because I was like, oh, my life's gonna end, and everything feels like 10 times more intense than it does, than it actually is. But what I started to do to like bounce back faster from life and dating is to think of heartbreak as a level, not as something necessarily negative. I almost had to switch it around in my brain to be something positive, like something I had to do to get to the next step. I had to think of it as, which this sounds a little like pretentious, like you can do anything if you just think about it, and like, no, this is just what worked for me. And didn't all the time. Like, of course I still had tough times. But this was something that made it almost just like simplified to where I wouldn't overthink it. Heartbreak is just a level, like in a video game. It's just another level you have to beat. You have to go through. You can't go around it. You have to go through it. And it will set you free, but you have to go through it first. Like it's in an ingredient list and you're making something, but it's a pretty core ingredient, so you have to do it. Because if you don't, you might not learn and be the same after. You might not be as good as you want to be after if you don't go through it. Because if you don't, you're not going to learn, you're not going to feel those emotions, you're going to push it down, you're going to suppress it, and then later you're just going to be a shell of a human being, all because you couldn't just hunker down and go through it. And let yourself go through it. Not even like, I mean, yeah, nobody wants to. But then they see the results and they're like, oh no, I want to now. And you're a changed person after, but in a better way, because you learned what you want, you learned what you deserve, and you learned on how to cope with the hard emotions instead of just ignoring them. I think ignorance is bliss. That sentence, sure, but that bliss turns into stupidity. Does that make sense? That's pretty harsh. I know, but it's true. Ignorance becomes stupidity. You look dumb. Like, you look dumb if you choose not to learn. Not saying you're dumb if you don't get broken up with. That's not what I mean. I'm saying that those hard emotions, whether it's heartbreak or not, whether it's just something that's difficult to go through, once you do it, you're like, I have these great stories. I have all this helpful information. You almost like have this inventory of things to use now, of tools, of things that are helpful, things that have changed you into a better person, instead of staying in one place for the rest of your life because it was comfortable and safe. And now when you can't talk to people, you can't have the same similarities with people because you chose to not learn. You're not at the same level as those people that are smarter than you because they went through the hard things and they learned. You didn't. You just stayed in one place and decided to cry. Crying is good, but did you do anything after that? You know? Did you figure out a way to be more productive in your heartbreak? I think it can be used as a tool, okay? I feel like instead of, yes, grieve. Grieving is important. First cry, first grieve, talk to people, talk to whoever you need to talk to, get closure if you need it, or don't, because closure can be in the form of no closure, and if you know, you know. But then take your move and take that next step, because you will be in a better place much faster than if you just keep grieving and moping and grieving. I've seen too many people I know who are so close to me, that have stayed in a place where I'm like, if you just use this to your advantage instead of playing the victim, you would be so much happier. Because yes, we're all a victim in our own story, and we're all the villain in somebody's story. Like, it's never going to be different. It's never going to change. Expecting life to change instead of yourself is weird. And it doesn't make sense. You cannot expect the world around you to shift, but you to stay in the same place, because it doesn't revolve around you. It doesn't revolve around any of us. And you will see so many better results in how you are as a person in your life. You will just be so much more you, and you'll be in a better place mentally, emotionally, physically, socially, if you accept what it is after grieving and using the time you have in between. That is hurt. It is hurt time. It is time that feels long and is stressful sometimes, and those memories come back and you want to just keep on staying in the same place because it's comfortable. But after a while, I feel like the people who get it, you get that like feeling of like, okay, it's time to change. Like, you want to, your body and your soul is like, okay, I'm ready to just step into something else. I want to be me again. I don't want to be sad anymore, you know? So I encourage you, if you're going through that, or if you have, or you're looking on, you know, past experiences, or even like, you're like, well, what if something happens in the future? It might happen. Don't expect it to. You don't have to read into that. I'm just saying, know that you are good on your own. You're great with somebody. You are. but you're good on your own too. You're just as great. So remember that if you can. What I try to do is anything that I keep forgetting or I keep wrestling with in my head, I have to like put it on a sticky note or something and like put it on my mirror and keep reading it until my brain believes it. I've been doing that with like pictures, with quotes, with anything that I just keep, my brain likes to say, no, that's not true. No, that's not true. So I'm like, fine, okay. I'm gonna put you on a freaking place where I can see it every single day until you believe it. I have to force myself to believe it. That's hard. And it's not fun, but it's easy though. I will say the act of putting something on a sticky note, putting it on your mirror, that's so easy. And that will change a lot of things in the long run. You know, the long-term effects are crazy. Yeah. I think that's all I have today. That's pretty heated combo between me and myself. But only because I believe it. And I just believe that so many people are brought down by one person or their dating history or whatever. And I'm like, I promise you that does not define you. It doesn't. It's just a story. And you look back and you laugh. The amount of times I've shared my dating stories and dating history with my friends and other people, and we all laugh and talk about it, and it's great. So I'm like, wow, I wouldn't be able to share my experiences if I didn't have them. And I wouldn't be as cool as I am today if I didn't have them. I wouldn't be as empathetic, as understanding, as funny, as whatever if I didn't experience them. So that's awesome. That's something to be grateful for. And yeah, I mean, we see it time and time again. All the heartbreak in the world that people experience, it turns into something. It turns into something good, whether it's songs or media or music, podcasts or books or anything. Like, those stories become things. They become creative outlets for people. So, of course, it's part of the process. But you have to accept that. You have to accept that as part of the process. Not be like, this is happening because the universe hates me. Oh, brother. What? No. Shut up. No, it's not. Okay. So aggressive this week. Yeah, it's a part of the process, not because you have bad luck or whatever you want to believe. It's there for your benefit. It is there for you. So take advantage of it. Use it. Use that tool. Okay. I've gone through all my sticky notes. I've said what I needed to say. Sorry if this was a heated one. I'm feeling a lot of the angst today. I don't know why, but I got it out, so I feel good now. Yeah. I encourage you to be kind and to love yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to other people, of course. Duh. Number one. But be kind to yourself too. Give yourself some grace. Change those negative thoughts. Turn them into positive ones. Yeah. Stay delusional in those positive thoughts. It's okay to be delusional when it's positive, right? I don't know. Meaning just, yeah. Change those thoughts into something good. And yeah, I will see you next week, the following week after it comes out, and we'll talk about something else. Big things are happening. I might be having a guest on soon, so stay tuned for that. And I appreciate you being here. Thanks for tuning in, listening to this semi-shorter one. Happy Valentine's Day. Stay delusional. Go drink some water. Okay. Love you. Bye.